Hi, everybody. This is Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And I am still in a hotel room in Brooklyn, but we still have to watch some films. So I have some with a danger theme, at least in the title. So we're going to watch today Dialogue Dangers, which is by the Calvin Workshop. Calvin Films made a bunch of industrial films in the 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. And they also did this workshop where they would bring other educational and industrial filmmakers to their location, and they would run these workshops. I don't know how long they were, but there have been some great films that have come out of that. Like Your Name Here is an example of something that they made to show the participants in the workshop to basically say, like, you know, you can just create this template and just crank out industrial films, but they don't really mean anything because it's just this template of B-roll. But this is called Dialogue Dangers. So it's someone talking about how dialogue's important, but also how it can be problematic when you're making your film. The next one is this really interesting film called Dangerous Pennies, which is, I believe, is about kind of inflation or kind of these tricks with pricing. I watched a little bit of it, and I didn't get to the gist of it, but it looked interesting. Then, of course, Danger Poison, which is Films West did this film, and yeah, it's about poisons around the home. And then we're going to end with a 4K scan, although this is reduced down through OBS and all that stuff, of something that Rick Prelinger and I love, which is the Guardiana series, or Safety Woman series, that features Guardiana, who is this woman who is given powers by these aliens to be able to travel through time and space to protect kids who are about to get in trouble. And this one's Safety Danger Out of Doors. So, very, very cheesy. It's one of these things where you don't know, she's no longer her mild-mannered person because she actually puts glasses on as opposed to taking glasses off. But it's a lot of fun. I think it's been riffed by Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater, but it's real good. If you like what you saw, we would love for you to give the thumbs up. You can also donate via the Super Thanks button on YouTube, or go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us, to get us gas money to get home, which we hope to do next week. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday. It's Friday, right? And I hope you have a great weekend. And yeah, I will see you on Monday. Bye. Everybody take care.
I thought I might discuss a couple of film scripting points that are usually called visualization and dialogue. Let's start with visualization. As we all know, the Chinese have always said that one picture is worth 10,000 words. This is one of the few cases where the Western mind and the Chinese mind agree. In fact, agreement's hardly accurate. We've embraced this cliche with a passion ordinarily reserved in this country for sex, baseball, and other important matters, like the 9-to-1 martini. But passion implies a relapse of reason. Nobody, I think, is very reasonable about sex or 9-to-1 martinis. Anyway, what happens in our business of industrial films is this. We give them the word, and then we show them the picture, or just a picture of the word. For instance, this is a flip chart. But sometimes even this doesn't satisfy us. We point at it. The chart, the easel, and the pointer are, I'm told, the heavy artillery of Madison Avenue. According to folklore, the same street gave us the 9-to-1 martini, so they aren't all bad. But I submit that the flip chart was devised not for motion pictures, but to please the boss. The chart shows that somebody has been busy. It's a kind of Dun & Bradstreet finger painting. But the psychiatrist uses the patient's finger paintings as a guide to their inner tension and doubts. I suspect that the boss often gets the same kind of information from the flip charts. So script writers, quit going around with your minds unbuttoned. Your boss is not slumped in a club chair. He's the hydra-headed audience for the film. And I don't feel that the audience is captivated by charts and graphs. Sometimes their use appears inevitable, but fight it. Not too long ago, we accepted hula hoops as inevitable, but they were finally stamped out. Now, the other point has to do with dialogue. I believe there is a quiet but hearty revolution underway among film writers as far as dialogue is concerned. The revolution has not yet reached industrial films to my knowledge, but its arrival is certain. Like so many of our techniques, this new approach to dialogue had its origin in Hollywood. They have problems in Hollywood. One of them is how to get people to spend their money at the box office. There are many fertile minds in Hollywood. In providing solutions to this problem, they have enriched our national heritage with the cowboy, the custard pie, the newspaper reporter who insults his city editor over the telephone, and the lawyer for gangland who wants nothing better than to go straight if only the mob would let him. The lawyer usually is enamored of a call girl with a heart of gold, of course, and they both wind up punctured with bullets at the end to provide a moral ending for the censors. But lately, these have not sufficed, and so ever resourceful, the writers in Los Angeles have proffered a new solution. It can be described, I think, in one word: smut. In my opinion, this discovery is of the greatest magnitude. It opens vast possibilities for achieving that realism and audience penetration which we all desire so earnestly in our work. You might like to write the word down: smut. You'll be increasingly aware of it, I predict. Obviously, this new dimension in the film will require delicate handling. The public is not yet ready for a full assault. However, this need not dismay those of us who write for industrial films. Hollywood has already provided a technique which solves the problem of handling. Remember that as I use it here, smut is spoken, not visualized. Straightforward pornography is not yet available even to Hollywood. Obscenity doesn't quite describe the technique, so I have chosen to fall back on the old reliable smut. I'm going to show you an example of how I think this latest device can be utilized in industrial films to lend realism and authenticity to otherwise dull scenes. Let's assume that we're making a film about supervisor-employee relations. This is a very popular subject nowadays. It will be shown, let's say, to factory foremen. Now, these are men who have a great grasp of practical matters. They want facts, not theories. Obviously, such an audience must be given a realistic film treatment. 2 plus 2 equals... No, not 5. 2 plus 2 equals... Well, can I see you from there, Mr. Davis? Yeah, come in. Look, Davis, I don't like to ask it, but my old lady's been kind of sick lately, and I got to take her up to the hospital tomorrow, and I thought maybe I could get the day off. That's tough. Yes? What do you mean? Look, I heard enough of this. You know, you guys... Look, you let my lawyer off yesterday to go up to the police trap. I told you I don't want any more of that bull here. I don't give a how sick your wife is. Who the you think you are talking to me like that, Jack? You can't talk to me like that. Go on, get out of this office. Look, all I want is my wife for to get to the hospital. I run in the department and you don't get run. Most of us have been in traffic court at some time or another, I imagine. while you were there, did you ever hear one of the officers testifying? It usually sounds like this. All right, officer. Just tell the court what happened.
Yes, sir. On the 23rd day of March of this year, I was proceeding south on Troost Avenue between 14th and 15th Streets when I observed a yellow sedan approaching the intersection of 15th Street and Troost Avenue at what I judged to be an excessive rate of speed. Therefore, I proceeded to pursue the vehicle with red light and siren in operation. The vehicle pulled to the curb between Troost Avenue and Myrtle Avenue. I then issued the operator of the vehicle a traffic summons.
Now, that's the way the officer told it in court, because in court he's on stage. But just look how he described the same incident to the guys back at the station house.
You know something? I swear that wife of mine don't know the difference between salami and bologna. I told her once, I told her a million times, salami gives me heartburn. Them peppercorns they put in there. So what do I get? Salami. He says, I'm lucky to have her. Ha! That reminds me that I see a doll today who, blonde hair, down here, and shape, oh, a real built. Riding this flashy yellow job. Well, I bet she knew the difference between salami, bologna, and a doll. I gave her a ticket for speeding.
All too often, the gap between script and reality is that wide, and we lose a lot of the credibility of our story as a result. Henry James, the American author, once said that it's the author's duty to bring about in his audience a willing suspension of disbelief. The audience must be convinced, and one of the ways we can convince them is with realistic dialogue. One of the most flagrant violations of this rule has been perpetrated for many years on a network radio series of which the hero is a kindly old investigator, sort of an amateur detective. He's assisted by an equally kindly but conveniently stupid sidekick. At the climactic point in each program, the dialogue sounds something like this.
Look out, Mr. Bean. I think that fellow standing in the French doors of the spacious living room of Arthur Pottle, the well-known industrial magnate, has a gun pointed at us. He's pulling the trigger, Mr. Bean.
Why, George, I believe you're right, Mike. From where we are crouched here in the tastefully appointed study of Pottle's mansion, I would say more than that.
What's that, Mr. Bean?
Why, Mike, I would say that is the very gun with which Barbara Pottle Van Bergman shot her late husband, Archie Van Bergman, well-known playboy and member of the notorious International set.
By golly, Mr. Bean, do you mean Barbara Pottle Van Bergman, only daughter of Arthur Pottle, the well-known industrial magnate?
The very same, Mike.
And by Archie Van Bergman, I take it you mean the man whose mysterious murder we've been investigating?
The very same, Mike.
By George, Mr. Bean. Look out, Mr. Bean. He's fired the murder weapon.
Indeed he has, Mike, and I would say more than that. I would say, that's not very convincing, is it? The author seems to have been writing for an audience of retarded 8-year-olds, and the result is the longest 15 minutes in radio. The trouble is that Mike and Mr. Bean know the things they keep telling each other. They know whose house they're in. They know whose murder they're investigating. They know that Arthur Pottle was the distinguished industrialist. They've known these things since the start of the program. Now, actually, what would probably have happened is this.
There's the son of a bitch!
Even in less dramatic situations, one character must not recite information known to other characters in the scene simply in order to give that information to the audience. For instance,
well, Charles Harris, you've been with the Assorted Screws Department of the Metal Finishing Division of Monumental Metalworks home plant in Altoona for 18 months now, I see from your Form B-8 employment record.
That's right, Mr. Schwartz. I've been here for 18 months now as an assistant lathe mechanic.
Well, as superintendent of the Metal Finishing Division's Steel Products Section, in charge of personnel, I wanted to have a chat with you. Sort of welcome you aboard. Make sure you understand what stands behind the Monumental team. Assorted screws accounted for 1/90th of all the steel production in the free world last year. The output of Monumental's Altoona plant alone would fill the Washington Monument 38.6 times. Or, if laid end to end, assorted screws produced at Altoona would reach from here to the planet Mars and back. Approximately.
When a scriptwriter is faced with the necessity of getting across information like that, he'd better look around for a better way of doing it. The point is that natural, realistic-sounding dialogue can go a long way toward disarming the audience, bringing about that willing suspension of disbelief which we're all seeking. But it must be honest dialogue, spoken, not written. Say your dialogue to yourself before you write it down, and after you write it down, cut it. As you can see, most of us talk too much anyway.
If you are like Mrs. Jones, your wartime shopping is a chore. The ceiling price for 10 pounds of sugar is 66 cents. But if you had bought this sugar at the end of the last war, you would have paid $2.60, nearly 5 times as much. How would you like to pay even twice as much for milk? Or butter? Or how would you like to pay twice as much for coffee? Inflation. It could happen. If prices were to double overnight, as many would without price control, it would be easy to recognize inflation. But hard to see are penny overcharges. A penny on this. A penny on that. Mrs. Jones watches her points very carefully, but prices are prices, and Mrs. Jones is a busy housewife.
How much are these?
Check the shelves.
15 cents for tomato soup? That's right for vegetable soup, but tomato soup is cheaper. There's a mistake of some kind. Are there more mistakes? Did Mrs. Jones pay correct ceiling prices? Let's look at that slip more carefully. 27 cents for the potatoes. The ceiling price is right for 5 pounds of potatoes. Mrs. Jones doesn't know it, but her bag doesn't weigh 5 pounds. Overcharge, 3 pennies. 10 cents for bread. Ceiling price right, posted right, no overcharge. 64 cents for 2 cans of pineapple at 32 cents a can. Ceiling price on pineapple is 28 cents. Overcharge, 4 cents on each can, 8 cents. Milk, no overcharge. 46 cents for 2 cans of peaches, no overcharge. 60 cents for 4 cans of tomato soup at 15 cents a can. But this shelf had vegetable soup on it a day or two ago. Tomato soup is cheaper. A clerk filled it with tomato soup but failed to change the price. Overcharged 2 cents per can, 8 cents. 49 cents for butter. Sugar, 66 cents. 35 cents for coffee. No overcharge on those. Total overcharges, 19 cents. 19 cents is not much, Mrs. Jones doesn't even miss it. Maybe Mrs. Jones thinks she can afford it. But for every Mrs. Jones, there is a soldier's wife who gets along somehow on $50 a month. And millions of others with fixed incomes. $68.40 is important money to them, even in penny overcharges. And then there is another side to this picture. This grocer does his own buying, and he prices the merchandise himself. It's not an easy job. And in many stores, penny overcharges go on and on. Mrs. Jones paid 19 cents too much. Another customer, 18 cents. Another one, 14 cents. Pennies, pennies, pennies. At the end of the day, they amount to a lot of money. Let's see what the total sales were today. $643.30. Mrs. Jones paid 19 cents, or 6% too much. At this rate, penny overcharges would amount to $38 a day, or $1,100 a month. This merchant has collected money, perhaps unintentionally, that belongs to his customers. If serious inflation is to be avoided, these overcharges must stop. This is the job of the community price panel of every war price and rationing board. With the exception of the price clerk, they are all volunteers. Martin is a retired real estate operator. He's been on the panel 3 years. Arthur Cardwell is a merchant. Gus Henning is a mechanic and active in his local union. Leila Bidwell is a housewife and has plenty to do. Tom Hogan is a broker and a new member of the panel. Congress has given this panel a powerful weapon with which to fight inflation. Under this act, the price panel performs 3 functions. First, it is through the price panel that the merchant learns what his pricing responsibilities are. Second, volunteer price panel assistants regularly check retail prices and report violations to the panel. The panel also encourages consumers to report price violations. And third, price panel hearings are held. Here, the panel considers the facts of violation and takes steps that will discourage further violations.
Mr. Cook, we have asked you to come here because we have information which indicates that you may have made charges in excess of the ceiling. This is not a court, and we do not fine anybody. We attempt to secure the facts, and where a violation has occurred, we decide what further steps should be taken. Do not hesitate to ask any questions you may have, because we expect your full cooperation in ascertaining all of the facts.
In every hearing, the price panel must first get the facts. Some of the facts in this case came from a consumer who reported to the panel that she paid $1.25 to have a dress cleaned, when the posted price was $1. Cook testified that he started 2 months ago making an extra charge of 25 cents for removing buttons before pressing and replacing them. He had made no such charge, however, during the period when his ceiling prices were fixed. Here is a violation. But how much of a violation? Was this consumer the only person who paid 25 cents too much? To answer this question, more facts are needed. So the panel asked Mr. Cook to make an audit and fill in a form showing the exact extent of violation. This means a careful study of his books of account. A week later, the form is completed and returned to the panel.
Mr. Cook, your compliance statement shows 87 dresses cleaned at $1.25.
Well, we had to start charging for buttons. The help we get now is so slow we can't afford to do it for nothing.
How did you make this estimate of 87 dresses, Mr. Cook?
I went over every sales tag for the last 2 months.
Did you find any overcharges on men's suits?
No, not on suits. The other items are all according to our OPA list. I know it by heart. Why, it took me 3 nights to check those slips.
Mr. Cook, would you mind waiting outside a few minutes?
Now that the panel has all the facts, it is in a position to weigh them and make a decision. The principal question is, what can we do to prevent this fellow and others from such violations? This violation has resulted in an actual overcharge. The cleaner has $21.75 that doesn't belong to him. He hasn't been very careful about adhering to price control regulations. The facts indicate that he increased his price knowing that it was a violation. Now to take action.
As you know, Mr. Cook, Congress has made it possible for consumers to file suit in case of overcharges for 3 times the amount of the overcharge, or $50, whichever is greater. In your case, 87 people could file suits. When consumers don't sue, it is up to the government. The panel has considered your case. The facts indicate that this is your first violation, but that you increased your prices knowing that you were violating. 3 times the amount of the overcharge, or $65.25, would ordinarily be a fair settlement of the administrator's claim in this type of case. But in view of the fact that this is your first offense, the panel has agreed to settle the government's claim for twice the overcharge, or $43.50.
$43.50? Why, I lose money every time I remove buttons.
Well, we all have tough problems in wartime, Mr. Cook. But our job is to fight inflation by making it unprofitable, to disregard the laws of our country.
You do have plenty of business, don't you?
Oh, yes, we're busy.
Violations like these, though small, Mr. Cook, invite inflation, and the government is determined to stop them.
Oh, I'll settle.
Miss Grant, will you make arrangements with Mr. Cook? The next case shows overcharges on potatoes and soup by the Abbott Grocery.
Well, that's John Abbott. I know him well. He wouldn't be a violator.
What is Mr. Abbott's history, Miss Grant?
Oh, there have been a couple of consumer complaints. One turned out not to be a violation. On another, Mr. Abbott signed a retailer's compliance statement for selling apples by the dozen instead of by the pound.
Well, I'm new here. Can someone tell me who put in a complaint against Abbott?
Oh, there's no complaint. One of our price panel assistants made a survey.
But why call him in here if there isn't a complaint? Couldn't we just write him a letter and tell him to reduce the price of those 2 items a couple of pennies?
No, that only gets the soup and potatoes in line. What we want to do is get Mr. Abbott in line.
And Mr. Abbott might be overcharging on a dozen other items.
But Abbott's an honest man. He wouldn't overcharge intentionally. What does the report say?
Well, Mrs. Nash checked 15 items. Most of them were properly priced. But tomato soup, posted at 15 cents, the ceiling price is 13 cents. Potatoes were posted at 27 cents for 5 pounds and were displayed in bags. She weighed a couple of bags and found they weighed 4 1/4 pounds.
Did she call Mr. Abbott's attention to those 2 overcharges?
Yes, she did.
You're right, Mrs. Nash. That soup is only 13 cents. My checker is new, and she took the price from the shelf. You see how those darn kids put the cans on the wrong shelves? And that's exactly what I told Mrs. Nash. And I corrected the mistake right then and there. I'm 100% for price control.
You own your store, Mr. Abbott. Do you do the pricing of goods yourself?
Every bit. Do you have copies of OPA regulations on items you sell, Mr. Abbott?
Oh, yes, I get them. But I can't read all that stuff.
How many cases of this soup do you sell a day, Mr. Abbott?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2, maybe 3. But if I make a mistake, I always correct it. Mrs. Nash will tell you that.
How about the potatoes? The survey shows that you were selling potatoes at 27 cents a bag. And Mrs. Nash found that some of the bags weighed less than 5 pounds.
When you fill that many bags, you can't expect to have them all come out exactly.
But you realize, of course, that potatoes should sell by the pound.
Oh, sure. But I haven't been able to buy any clean potatoes for the last 2 weeks. And my customers don't like to get their hands dirty, so I sell them by the bag.
But how do you know how much a bag of potatoes weighs?
Well, I filled lots of bags of potatoes. When you take a bag that size and fill it up about that far, why, they'll average out at 5 pounds.
How much of your own time do you spend in the produce department, Mr. Abbott?
Not very much. I'm busy. Government reports, bookkeeping, salesmen, OPA.
Do you always fill those bags yourself, Mr. Abbott?
Oh, of course not. My clerks do it.
Do they always fill the bags up?
Well, good clerks are hard to get, and you have to be careful how you treat them. But when I see a bag that isn't full, I go right over and fill it up myself.
Are there any more questions? Would you mind waiting outside, Mr. Abbott, while we talk these facts over? This seems to be clearly a second case of violation. What do you think we should do about it?
I think we should let him off easy. He didn't intend to violate. Somebody got the wrong soup in the rack.
That was unintentional, all right. But his overcharges on potatoes appears to be deliberate. Wasn't his previous violation for selling apples by the dozen? His overcharges on soup alone must run $3 or $4 a day.
And there are probably several other items like the soup. Why, he must carry over 3,000 items in his store.
Well, I think he ought to settle for 3 times the amount of the overcharges based on a self-audit.
Is it agreed then? Miss Grant, will you bring Mr. Abbott in, please? Mr. Abbott, the panel feels that through your overcharges on soup and potatoes, you have received money that doesn't belong to you.
Do you mean you're going to fine me and put my name in the paper from an unintentional overcharge on a can of soup?
John, I've known you for years. You're a businessman. It's not just one can of soup, but possibly several cases over a period of several days. That's quite a bit of money. We've simply got to stop these overcharges if we're going to prevent inflation.
Another point, Mr. Abbott. This is no fine. But we can give you an opportunity here in your own community to settle for all of your overcharges. Every person who bought a can of this soup from you could legally sue for $50, and that would be a lot of money. This panel has the authority to settle this matter out of court.
Oh, I'll settle here, of course. I'll write a check. How much did you say it would be?
Well, we can't say now because we don't know the amount of the overcharge, but Miss Grant will give you a couple of forms to use in making an audit.
Miss Grant gives Abbott a form. Following her instructions, he makes a self-audit. He talks to his checker and finds there were 5 days overcharging on soup at 2 cents a can, or a total of $14.40. Then there's the potatoes. An average bag is about 1/2 pound light, or an overcharge of about 3 cents a bag. He sells lots of potatoes. At 3 cents a bag, the overcharge would amount to about $6 a day. That's about $84 for the 2 weeks. At the price clerk's request, he has a clerk check his shelf prices against the community poster. 2 additional items were found out of compliance. The checker, however, reports no overcharges. She has been using the ceiling posters for reference since the price panel assistant's visit. Total overcharges, $14.40 on soup and $84 on potatoes. Total, $98.40. Forms completed. A week later, we find him again at the panel hearing.
Did you check your shelves against the community ceiling list?
Every item. We found 2 mistakes, but no overcharges. My checkers are referring to the community list instead of the shelves now.
Well, how about the items that are not on the community price list?
Oh, but Tom, I have over 2,000 items in that store. I just couldn't check all of them.
Are you taking steps to prevent overcharges on those items in the future?
You bet I am. We have a new system in the store now. We check every shipment against OPA regulations before we put a single item on the shelves. I don't want to get caught up again if I can help it.
Abbott is again asked to leave the room. While all members agree that his violation may have been unintentional, there is no evidence that Abbott was careful to avoid such violations, and one of these overcharges appears to be deliberate.
According to your statement, Mr. Abbott, the overcharge on these items amounted to $98.40. Our records indicate that you signed a retailer's compliance statement after a previous violation, and we do not feel that you have used the precautions that you should have taken to prevent these overcharges. Therefore, the panel feels that the proper settlement of the administrator's claim should be 3 times the amount, or $295.20.
Well, that's rather drastic, isn't it? Couldn't you make it an even 200?
Not a bargaining figure, Mr. Abbott. We can recommend a final settlement when you make an entirely voluntary payment of this amount, with the understanding that you will take the steps you mention on all items not under community prices. Do you want to make this settlement?
It's the best way I can see.
You can give a certified check to Ms. Grant tomorrow. She'll give you a temporary receipt. A final receipt will come from the district office.
That's a lot of money, $295.
But, John, it's the only way we can cut any overcharges and stop inflation.
Say, are phonograph records under price control?
Surely, and 18 million other items. Why?
Well, my youngster sometimes has to pay $1 for phonograph records that should sell for 75 cents, according to the magazines.
That might be a violation. Why don't you sue?
Oh, a man in my position can't sue, but it sure makes me boil.
Yes, Mr. Abbott, overcharging, whether it's intentional or otherwise, makes a lot of us boil. You and every other consumer and businessman in America who have such a tremendous stake in the future of our country can help to avoid the boom and the collapse which rob millions of their savings, their jobs, their homes, their farms, and their security after the last war.
Poison.
Do you know what Steve's father is spraying on these plants? What is Steve's mother doing? What is this? What is this for? And why is it in the closet? Moth cakes, ant powder, and this spray are all poisons. There are many other poisons that scientists invented to help us. Poisons to kill insects that could spoil our food or bite us. Poisons to protect flowers, to kill moths that could eat our clothes, and to destroy termites that could chew away the wood in our homes. They protect us from insects that carry disease. Poisons help our community stay healthy, but they are dangerous if not used correctly. It is easy to tell that this sign means poison. These words also warn us to be careful. There are many things around the house that do not have a poison sign on them. Yet they can make you very sick if you were to smell or taste them. The kitchen cabinet holds many dangerous things. Mother uses them to keep our home clean. But unless we handle them in the right way, they can harm us. Always have Mother show you how to use them safely. When finished, remember to put them away, out of the reach of your younger brother or sister. Always wash fruit before you eat it, for there might be some poisonous insecticide left on it. We can also find dangerous things in other parts of our home. Do not sniff or drink lighter fuel or ink. Do not chew on matches. They can make you very ill. Even your own room can be dangerous. Breathing the vapor from paint or glue can damage your brain. Use them outside, or make sure the windows are wide open so you have plenty of fresh air to breathe. Little girls like to look pretty, but some of Mother's good-smelling cosmetics might be poisonous. Even simple things like perfume or nail polish can make you ill. Medicines are used to help you get well. But too much of a medicine, even though it might taste good, can make you sick or even kill you. You should never, never take medicine on your own. You can find poisonous things around the washing machine. Mother uses them to clean our clothes. To stay healthy, never sniff or taste them. Steve likes to work in the garage. It can be a place for fun. But the garage also has poisons around. These protect our garden from snails and bugs. They kill weeds and pests. If you ever handle them, pay attention to the warning signs. There might be fertilizer and plant food in the garage. They help our gardens grow. After Dad uses fertilizer or any other garden chemicals, he always washes his hands before he touches his face or eats. Your garage may have other poisonous things. Some may have a pleasant smell, but remember, do not sniff or taste them. They can make you very ill, can even kill you. If you use them, be sure they are put away out of the reach of little children. Charcoal lighter is for starting a barbecue fire, not for you to smell or taste. Nature grows poisons of her own, and sometimes right in your own garden. Just a touch of some plants will give you a bad skin rash. If you were to eat some of them, they will make you very ill. Stay away from an oleander bush. Every part of this plant is highly poisonous. So is the castor plant. And its beans. Steve uses chemicals to keep his fish healthy. But what's good for fish is no good for you. Never leave poisonous chemicals out, because little sister might put them in her mouth. Steve has a special box in which he keeps the poisonous things he uses. It's fun to make paper cutouts. But never leave poisonous glue lying around. Be especially careful if you have younger children in your house. Always put it away, out of the reach of others. It's a good idea to have a special box, as Steve has, in which you can lock up your poisonous paints and glues. Spray paints can also be dangerous. Be sure to keep the paint can pointed away from you, so you will not breathe in the poisonous fumes. Steve knows what to do with poisonous things when there are little children around. Now, what have you learned about poisons? What does this mean? Can you name other things in your home that are poisonous? Should you ever, on your own, take medicine from the medicine cabinet? Why should you wash your hands with soap and water after touching poison? Will smelling some kind of glue make you sick? and damage your brain? How many poisonous plants can you name? Why should some things be put out of the reach of younger children? Do all poisons have this on them? Remember, if we learn to be careful, we will stay healthy and strong. Many children are poisoned each year. You would not want to be one of them, would you?
Hey, kids, I bet you're glad it's Friday. You looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, Kevin and I are going to go hiking up to the lake. Yeah, my big brother's letting me take his boat out. I get to stay home this weekend, but I'll find something fun to do.
Good for you, Terry. Fun is where you find it, providing you find it safely.
Don't worry about us, Miss Kingsley. We'll be all right. Our school's starting a Danger Dodger Club. Yeah, we all plan to join.
This is Miss Karen Kingsley, youthful, gifted, attractive. A successful freelance architect who still finds time to serve the children of her community as a volunteer crossing guard. A very special kind of woman. Perhaps more special than you can imagine.
Learn a lot. I hope you have fun on your weekend. Okay. You be careful now, okay? Well, bye-bye.
Bye.
We'll see you Monday.
Bye.
It was less than a year ago. Karen was returning from a visit to her favorite Aunt Margaret in the small township of Springfield. It was here that something took place which gave her extraordinary powers.
Karen Kingsley. The rings become the safety shield, which freezes time and space, stopping objects in their tracks. The teletaker, which transports objects from one point in space to another instantly. The reversal ray, which makes time and space move backward, receives the power and be called Guardiana, safety woman. Aware, alert, alive.
And that is how Karen Kingsley became safety woman.
There it is. What are these? Oh, they're for kids. Are you ready to shove off? All right. Are you ready? Yep. All right, here we go. Guardiana! Safety woman, we glad to see you.
Aware,
Aware,
alert,
alert,
alive.
alive.
Right, boys. And to stay alive, let's review the rules for water safety. Learn to swim from a qualified instructor who can help and advise you. And stay in shallow water until you know how to swim. Avoid running and horseplay around pools. Learn and practice life-saving and rescue breathing. Never go swimming or boating when you're tired. Don't swim when overheated or right after eating. Never dive into water unless you know beforehand how deep the water is, because obstacles may lie hidden below the surface. Never swim or boat in an area where there's no one around to help you, and never go boating without a life jacket on.
Boy, we really goofed. Yeah, we were dumb.
No, boys, you just made a mistake. One I don't think you'll ever make again.
Yeah.
When we get out of doors, we feel free, but we're never free of the dangers around us. We've always got to stay alert. There was a hiker here last week, for example.
Well, he came prepared. He had on good hiking shoes. He carried a snake bite kit and a canteen of water. He had a jacket in his pack in case he got cold, an emergency snack, and even a map of the area. But he made a mistake. He broke the first rule of safe hiking. Never hike alone. Whenever you hike, tell a responsible person where you're going. He decided to do a little climbing. Like so many other hikers who are injured, he went beyond his limits. He called for help. Since he was alone, no one could hear him.
Help! 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 Wow! Lucky for Rodney that you saved him.
Yes, but even safety women can't be everywhere. That's why everyone must practice safety.
Hey, Jeff, can I ride your mini bike around the block once?
No way, Terry. Kids our age, they're not allowed to ride around on the block. It's illegal for kids our age to be riding around on the streets.
Then where are you going to ride it, huh?
Well, after I get it adjusted, my dad and I are going to go up to Uncle Jack's ranch. And up there is private property, so it's okay for us to ride it.
Take me with you. I'll ask your dad. He'll let me.
Wrong again. He wouldn't even let you get on it without the proper equipment.
What equipment?
Over there.
Boots, gloves, leather jacket, helmet. You must fall down a lot, huh?
Even the best riders take spills, Terry. That's why they all come prepared. No one should ride a mini bike who isn't wearing the proper helmet and clothing.
Jeff, come on.
No, you can't ride it.
You're no fun. Keep your old mini bike. Don't ask to borrow my skateboard, Jeff.
Terry, look out! Look out!
I must leave. Aware. Alert. Alive.
My skateboard. Guardiana, you saved me.
Yes, Terry, but that was too close. And our town does have a paved area set aside for skateboarding. And if I'm not mistaken, it's only 4 blocks from where we're standing right now. Here, you won't be in danger from cars, and you won't endanger pedestrians. Helmets and pads are required, so everyone can have fun without the risk of serious injury.
Boy, Terry, you almost blew it, but good that time. By this much. If Guardiana
Now, Jeff, I think Terry just forgot that sometimes the only way to avoid danger is to stay away from the places where danger is at. An abandoned car might look like fun, but jagged edges, broken glass, and other hidden dangers can spell trouble. What other places should we stay away from, Jeff?
The railroad tracks.
Good, Jeff. What else?
Power lines.
Right. Can you think of some, Terry?
Places where they're building new houses and things.
Good. What else?
Or dirty old vacant lots like on Peach Street.
That's right. Being alert means staying away from those places. Every town has parks and playgrounds and places where you can have fun safely. You see, Terry, here you can have fun and not have to worry about traffic.
My problem is I keep forgetting important things, like being alert.
Now, we all forget, Terry. It takes practice to keep aware and alert, and there are lots of new dangers that we have to look out for, too. That's why schools have safety clubs like the Danger Dodgers.
Then maybe I should join one while I'm still in one piece.
Terry, you're going to be all right. Danger Dodgers, I salute you.
We won't forget, safety woman.
Aware, alert, alive!
Hey, Miss Kingsley! You'll never guess what happened last Saturday.
Oh, really? Well, I'd like to hear all about it.